Welcome, new and old friends. My name is 242, and today, 2 got us 5 Glitch in the Matrix stories. Something to help you question the reality you find yourself in. So, turn off your lights, make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I never name my livestock. Makes killing and eating them that much harder. His voice echoed in my mind as I had become hung up on the fact that not once during our interrogation had he referred to his missing children by name. My friend's glitchy relationship with jewelry by Crayons and Coffee. So last year my best friend came from her very sunny state to my very snowy one to visit me for a couple months. The weather is important because while she was here, we basically got snowed in. For 3 days we made hot cocoa, had epic chats, and felt like we were having sleepovers again. It might also be worth noting that my house is 100 years old and has a lot of energy. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not haunted, it's just... it feels electrified in there somehow. Anyways, the first incident was one afternoon. Doing some laundry, we threw everything in together, hers and mine, so it would all be done at the same time, and we could fold it on my bed and gossip like eccentric old women. That morning, she had shown me some new jewelry that she had gotten because her and her husband had recently made a trip to Ireland. One piece was a circular silver bracelet that had a stone clasp that held 2 sides together. I saw her put that bracelet on in the morning, saw her clasp the stone together. So we do laundry and philosophize, and she suddenly exclaims, while folding, "Oh shit, where's the stone to my bracelet? It must have got snagged by the laundry." We look frickin' everywhere. Floor, washer, dryer, bed, hamper, every single piece of clothing. The stone isn't small, about a ½ an inch across, ringed in silver, faceted. Easily noticeable. Nowhere to be found. About 2 months later, I'm finally taking some cardboard boxes of items to the thrift store that I had been storing in my car. Yes, the whole 2 months. Don't judge me. Winter time sucks here. As I unload the last box on the rear passenger side floorboard, I see something glimmer from the floor mat. It's the stone. I just stared at it. Neither of us had any chance to get to my car for the entire 3 days we were snowed in. Even if it had held onto some piece of laundry and carried it to my car, she wouldn't have been sitting in the back seat. It was under a box that had been sitting there for 2 months. Every scenario that I played in my head just seemed so improbable. Incident number 2. We were sitting in my room, on the floor, talking and drinking beer. She gets up to get another beer. Same scenario. "Oh no, where's my earring?" These are very large, handmade earrings. Again, hard to miss. I have a very Spartan finishing in my bedroom and the house in general, and after looking most of the rest of the night, we never found that either. I moved out 8 months later and never found it. Just instant gone. With smoke in the distance and the smell of old leather, I was sure I'd finally reach safety. But it quickly occurred to me that this was no town, but another path to heaven as they called it. Looking at my past grandfather in the eyes by Lila Bella. Hey everyone, I had no idea this thread existed, and I'm so glad I found it, because now I have a story that maybe someone out there can relate to and convince me I'm not insane. So, a few years ago, I was traveling out of country to visit my dad, so we decided to go on a tour to visit this cave in his hometown. This place was absolutely ginormous, but for some reason, we were the only people there that day. So we get our wristbands, and my dad's reads 848. He starts laughing and just says, "That was a close one." I looked at him confused, and he tells me once his father passed, before I was born, he began seeing his dad's address number, 849, everywhere he went. The lady gave me the wristband, and we looked down to see 849. Just a coincidence, right? Yeah, that's what I thought too, until we sit down to wait till the tour was going to start, and my dad breaks into a sweat and begins panicking, losing his breath. He tells me he thinks he's going to throw up or shit his pants. So naturally run to the bathroom, where when we get there, he turns to look at me and tell me he'll be right back. I step back in absolute confusion on my face. My dad's eyes had drastically changed in color. His eyes are a dark brown, and his eyes suddenly mirrored a light blue-green color. At that moment, my heart dropped to my stomach, and I knew that person in front of me was not my father. I began to shake, backing away from him, confused as all heck. He was frightened by the look I gave him, and began to ask me what was wrong, why I was moving away from him as he tried to get closer to me. I told him that he wasn't him. I wasn't looking at my dad. I was someone else. I began crying, and he claimed that he ran inside the bathroom, splashed his face with cold water, and when he looked into the mirror to see himself, he saw his dad's reflection looking at him. He runs out to me just to start crying, saying, "It's him! My dad, it's him!" It was so trippy because what are you supposed to do in that situation? All we did was cry and hug each other. I never felt such a warm and safe presence. It was ever glowing, even if my grandfather didn't actually go through my dad that day. I know he was at least there to watch us share a really insane moment. I know a lot of people don't believe in repeating numbers, but for the ones that do, I see 849 whenever I'm going through some large chapter in my life. Moving houses, getting out of really hard relationships, meeting my partner, etc. I like to think that it's him just letting me know he's there. I love to know if this has ever happened to anyone else. My dad and I still talk about it to this day, and I always wonder if it was actually him that day. I was not intoxicated in any way. It was also in broad daylight. When our dog suddenly showed signs of going into labor, my wife and I nearly fainted in joy. But the black, slimy thing that oozed out of her belly and bared its fangs was definitely not the puppy we expected. Hard drive of some random person by Bros Before Pros. Start with, I joined this chat a long while back. Never posted, just looked. Lots of buggish stuff, but equally some wild things. Never thought I'd have an odd story to share. So I have a lot of hard drives from over the years, mainly for swapping in new ones for upgrades or having saved them from old PCs I'm getting rid of. Today I gathered all of the loose ones up to go through, label, and or dispose of them. I get to one drive, and when I open it, it's some random person's username who I do not know. I start shifting through the data, and there is all kinds of personal identifying information, such as tax returns, school papers, applications, and even a few pictures. It has enough information that I was able to track this person down. The crazy thing is, I joined the military right out of high school. This drive was from around 2013 when I was married and living in the South. The only thing linking me to this drive is the fact that it's from my home state. I had a good recollection on all these hard drives I had. I could open them and be like, yeah, this is from this IP or PC. So, enough to claim to custody on the origins or the timelines in my brain. So, my home state is Indiana, where strange things happen. Now, after tracking this dude down, it turns out he is or was from many counties away from my home in a town I never visited. All the devices I have owned I can account for, and this hard drive I cannot. I have not even purchased or acquired a used laptop, and especially not one while I was 4 states away in 2013. I thought I knew all the hard drives I had stashed because I had been through them all a few times looking for my wife's Minecraft saves. This day I have a random man's hard drive, who I have never met, whom I, or no one I know, is familiar with. I have asked my family. I went through the possibilities. I have no logical explanation. I have asked my mom since I had replaced her hard drive on hers, owned by her, business IP with an SSD. I asked my dad, which he only had one IP, and I actually just deemed that his HHD for disposable today. I now know no one else to ask because those were the only instances I required a drive. I asked them if they bought a used laptop. They did not. I know a bit of shadow data can exist with an improper wipe, but these were not wipes and not reused, and even if they somehow were, no one I know's profile or data exists pertaining to me or anyone I know on these drives. It's just one profile with all the info from this one person. This has truly dumbfounded me, and I actually contacted him to see if he could provide me any answers and even just to return his old data to him. In short, I have never been so dumbfounded in my life over something so trivial yet odd. I have thought of any way I could have acquired this drive, and I cannot for the life of me begin to pull a logical explanation. It is as if it appeared in my shit. To the bottom right is the hard drive. We were supposed to take out the creepy statue that someone dumped into the lake. But when the crane reeled in the rope, the mangled bodies of the divers were the only thing that were tied to the rope. I think I saw someone I know despawn. By Prometheusatitangod. I saw a glitch NPC. Let me begin with saying I don't believe in ghosts as in a once living person's spirit remaining behind. But even said, this doesn't apply because the person I saw in this glitch is still alive. My job currently has 2 main sites around 10 miles from each other. One has hazmat materials, the other I work at doesn't. I live smack in between the two, as so is my small town. In fact, employees from the main office on a nice day walk into town from lunch at one of the small restaurants. 15 years ago, I had a supervisor, call him Wayne. He had a very unique person you can't mistake for anyone else, the way he walks, talks, and so on. When he was my supervisor, we had a third site that closed during the recession years back. The employees then were shuffled into the remaining 2 sites. I was lucky I wasn't sent to the hazard materials department. Wayne wasn't. He had decades of experience at the main office anyway, so he went there. Fast forward to 7 or 8 years ago. He was also transferred into an office position at my site. He was in the middle of his 60s at this point, so my company was kind enough to give him a lighter load. It was great seeing and working with him again. Time definitely took its toll. He looked his age and perhaps a little bit older. Not going to lie, our jobs are very physically tough. Well, he retired after a few years here. I never saw him again. Well, until last year, I went to the town to the post office on my break. As I got back into my car, I saw him walking past my car. I yelled, "Wayne, hey!" I got no response. It's definitely him. I saw him closely, like 3 feet away. His non-response wasn't weird because he was a little hard of hearing. So I got out of my car to go walk up and say hi. I saw him walking towards the post office. I call out to Wayne as he turned the corner. At this point, I was like 2 or 3 feet away as he turned that corner. I stepped around the corner less than 2 of the 2 seconds after him, but he was gone. There wasn't a car for him to get into, and if he went into the post office, the door wouldn't have had enough time to close if he ran to it after turning the corner. There was nowhere for him to go even if he ran like an Olympic champion. This was seconds. It was like the second he left my site, he vanished. Yeah, I checked the post office, even walked the only way he could have gone. Nothing. I went back to work and asked about him. I thought about maybe he came off retirement and was working in the main office again and was on break. Didn't explain how he disappeared, but nope, no one had seen or heard from him again since he retired. Every explanation I could think of didn't account for him disappearing like that. Then it hit me as I asked about him at my job. He didn't look like he did when I saw him last. He looked like he did when I worked with him back when we had that third location. At least 10 to 15 years younger. As I said, I don't believe in ghosts. But I thought, what if I found out he died? I would have to adjust my beliefs. I dug and found out he is very much alive and well, living in another state. What did I see? It was him. His very distinctive swag, his glasses. I saw him close up. I wasn't thinking about him at all when I saw him. A doppelganger? A temporal echo? Or has he become just a background NPC I wasn't supposed to notice, or one that wasn't meant to be spawned? I don't know, but it makes me wonder if we are in a simulation and that some people are NPCs. Who is real? What is real? I don't think I want to know. When I saw this job advert that promised free accommodations and covered living expenses, I was ecstatic and applied immediately. The elevator has been going down for 20 minutes now, and I'm beginning to regret my decision. in the 70s for a split second by Temporarily Upstairs 9. Now, I was never the type of guy that believed in parallel universes or multiple dimensions, but after a strange experience and years of research, I have begun to wonder about the possibilities of such things existing. My change of mind occurred after a strange experience 5 years ago. I remember that date clear, 6th of September 2016. It was the day after I'd moved into my new house, which I still live in today. It's a fairly old house, and I've experienced many odd things in this house, though those things are different stories. The home was built in 1974 to 1976, and was completed in late September of that year. It's had a few owners, one of which was my father's former boss. It's been kept in very good condition and retains many of its original features. In the hallway featured on screen, the carpet was a dingy yellow when I moved it. Had it replaced with a more modern carpet when I had my experience, the carpet was yet to be replaced. Right, the story goes like this. It was our second day in the house and our first night in said house. I woke up early, around 7 p.m.-ish, to help unpack boxes and our items. We were also moving items out of the house which belonged to the previous owners. I was loading a box labeled silverware from our old green car, which was a 1995 Honda Odyssey. The box was heavy, and I lost some grip on that box. Luckily, I have a quick reflex, and I quickly reacted and nudged the box back into my hands using my knee to prevent myself from dropping it. It was when I looked up again, things appeared differently. The first thing, which was hard for me not to notice considering the box was in front of my eyes, was the word silverware. It had completely replaced with the word records and books in black vivid. I was confused at first and simply dismissed it as my bad eyesight. It was not until I let it down to place the box down on the lawn temporarily to close the car door. It is then that I realized something was completely different from my eyes that was playing upon. The car, the distinctive green 1995 Odyssey, was gone. Instead was replaced with a red Ford pickup truck. In complete utter shock, I quickly hurried into the house to find my father. I don't know why, and have no clue what I would have told him. I'm still unsure why I left the garden to find my father. Anyways, when I hurried into the hall, I spotted a figure walking into my parents' bedroom. He was tall and young, maybe 35 to 45 in years, and around 5'8", he wore a brown suit, almost like a tweed suit. He himself hurried along down the hall quickly, so I quickly followed this man in confusion. When I walked down the hall, I noticed the carpet was cleaner, and a stain I had noticed earlier near my bedroom was gone. Perhaps if I hadn't been in such a frenzy, I would have noticed other changes. Anyways, I swiftly walked into my father's room. It was right at that moment when everything went back to normal. The man disappeared, and boom, I nearly toppled my father as I walked right into him when entering his room in which the man had entered. We were so close I could feel his breath. "Whoa, buddy, slow down," I remember him clearly state. He was clearly as confused as I was. When I told him what I saw, we both walked outside, and there was the green Odyssey sat parked under our willow tree, the box where I left it, and the car door open. My father quickly dismissed the situation. I cannot explain what occurred in those brief moments, and probably will never fully understand what occurred on that warm September day. My father doesn't have any explanation for what happened that day. He recounts that day as well, from his perspective. He remembers cleaning some boxes, standing near the sliding door of his room, when he saw the same man walking away from the door. I find it odd that the man was walking in two completely opposite directions. He got curious and went to follow, in which time I then stormed in, falling into my dad's chest. I have told my family multiple times the story. None really believe me. It has sort of become a dining room table story for them. I truly believe I was briefly transported into a different era. I can't confirm it, and perhaps if I had a phone back then, I was 15 and my parents were the type of parents who disapproved of young teens having phones. I could have taken a photo or two. Whether it was a time slip, a glitch in the matrix, or my mind playing tricks, this experience will remain in my memories for years. When God appeared before me, suggesting we switch places, I wasted no time in saying yes. As all life has been gone for millennia, and the last stars are starting to go out, I get why he would prefer a mortal life. Now, don't panic, my friends, or 42 might bite. I know we're getting near the end of this video. I'd like to thank those who let me read their stories as always. I hope you all take care and enjoy how I told your story today. I would like to welcome my newest patron, Cheetah McGee. They have also been a subscriber on YouTube for a while, so welcome and thank you so much. If you would like me to use a different name, please just tell me. Now, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. If you would like to help this channel/podcast, please just share it with anyone who might enjoy it. You'd really be surprised how much that helps. If you'd like to help in other ways, I do have a Patreon, merch, and PayPal. I will never expect this, but I will always appreciate it, guys. Now, as always, last but never least, I would love a comment down below or even on Twitter. But I'll get you that Sunday word to help you if you like. On screen right now is everyone who wrote me something last week. Thank you guys so much as always. Now, let me get you this Sunday's word, which has me shaking in my boots since I'm so nervous. 'Cause that's this Sunday's word, nervous. So write me a sentence down below using this word and you'll be on next week's video/photo. But as always, you can just write me a comment telling me what you like and don't like that I do. But as always, guys, thank you for watching and listening. It really means the world to me. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.